Drink it in, man. Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Cornbread! Drink it in, man.
Detroit Kool-Aid, what is going on, everybody? Friday, and we are back. And I got Grifka here. Grifka, what is going on, my man?
Man, it's Friday. It's Christmas weekend. Come on, man. Not going back to work for a long time. Gotta love this.
Yeah, man, it's kind of nice how it sets up this year. If you can get that Monday and that Friday off, and Tuesday, Christmas, and maybe the day after for some people, that's a nice little break. So holidays is always nice. Family, friends, food. Got some football that will be on. So it'll be good stuff, man. Good holiday break. And here in Michigan, the weather has it's been crazy. I mean, people say they want that white Christmas, but I've been happy we haven't got drilled to snow. It's been good.
Yeah, I agree.
So Griff, enough of the chit chat. We don't talk about weather and our work day and all that garbage. I say it every few shows. We're here to talk football. We're here to talk Detroit Lions. What the heck is going on this week that you're thinking when it comes to our Detroit Lions?
Well, I actually have a couple things. I mean, where the Lions are at. There's a couple other storylines I've kind of have interest in, and I know you don't like to talk about other teams. I just want to get what your thought is on it. The one being I read earlier this week that the refs admitted to Tom Brady that they missed some calls against them and the Steelers. Like, do you think referees actually do that? Pull a guy aside, and say like, "Oh yeah, we missed that call," or do you think that was one of those things where like the Patriots sent an email in saying, "Hey, check out these plays," and they're like, "Yeah, you guys were right, we missed them," because I mean, how much credibility does a referee have on the field? All of a sudden, it's like, yeah, you're right, sir, we missed it, or you're right, Mr. Brady, we missed that play. I mean, then you're going to question the guy every time. Do you think that actually happened? That the refs actually pulled Tom Brady aside and said, yeah, we missed that play?
Well, first off, Detroit Kool-Aid drinkers is classic Grifka. He's on Pro Football Talk or wherever probably Dave Burkett actually probably wrote about this somewhere. He's listening to it. Wants to talk non-Lions, wants to talk random NFL topics. So I'll amuse you for a second, Grifka.
Please do.
Of course. Like I think if you watch NFL films, you always see these guys yucking with the referees. I'm pretty sure these refs know when they totally clunk up. And yeah, I'm sure they come up and tell them they got it wrong. My thing, if I was a quarterback, would be like, you always see them say something goofy and came up to me and said he messed it up. I'd probably go off the handle on him and read him the riot act, because nobody wants to hear you say you messed up. How about just not messing up? Or how about if you do mess up, actually reversing a call for once? Again, everybody knows this can be a Grifkaism where you revert back to previous shows. But anybody that listened to our show on Wednesday evening that dropped knows that I just went on multiple rants. Here's another one for you, Grifka. How many times are these referees going to go under the hood to look at a play with the same high def, with the same replays that we see at home? How many times are they either going to get it wrong, or are they going to come back and say the ruling on the field stands because them and those jabrones in New York have no guts, no anything to change a call? Like, what's it got to be? Like 200%, 100% proof positive for you to ever reverse anything? Like, I'm so sick of that. The call stands. Why even have replay if you're going to reverse 1 out of 100 because you can actually tell 1,000% that it was wrong? Like, Are you with me on this?
Yeah, I agree with you, because there's so many times where
Man,
it
I
looks
set
like,
that up perfect.
I'm sitting at home, sitting there, eating my Doritos, drinking my adult beverage, and I'm like, well, that's obviously a catch, or that's a fumble. Oh no, his knee might have been hitting a blade of grass, so he's down. No, the play's over. The play stands. Like, whatever. Come on, it's just.
It's not even the. Oh, it was close, so they went one way or the other. We went one way. It's pretty clear, if not all the way clear on the replay, but they find a smidge that might be like questionable, and they just go with stands because they have nothing else to hang their hat on. Like, it's probably the weakest move in sports is the call stands to me. But going back to your original question, yes, I think these refs screw up. I think they tell these guys they screw up, and I don't know why Like, you have one job and you can't even do it. Like, it's ridiculous. Oh, the game moves fast. I forgot, Grifka. Like, what a joke these referees are. Every week it's more flags, it's more everything. Like, come on.
Okay. Well, I want to talk about another team again as well, but this one at least is in the Lions division. With the way everything is shaken out over the weekend, the Bears, the Chicago Bears, that we both agreed that were going to be the worst team in the preseason. We thought they'd be the worst team in the division. They ended up winning the NFC North. I mean, can the Lions do? I mean, I know there's a lot going into the offseason, draft, free agency, but is this something now that the Lions may be close there, they could flip it next year? I mean, like, who saw this coming with the Bears? And can the Lions maybe do the same thing next year? I know we're going to hope it because we're the Kool-Aid cast, but, could the Lions do that as well? Surprise a bunch of teams that way?
Grifka, first and foremost, I think if we review the tape, it was you, for the most part, that was saying the Chicago Bears aren't fill in the blank, Grifka, so I can get the bill.
They're not that great. I still don't think they're that great. I mean, I still don't think they're that great.
You went on and on about, like, how they weren't good, and they added a few pieces, big whoop, and I bet you if we go back and find the file or go back in the archives, as people should do, and listen to the old shows, that you would hear me saying, hey, I like Allen Robinson, Tariq Cohen could be good. They've got, when they added Khalil Mack, how many times did I jump on the show before they got Khalil Mack saying, okay, Bobby Quinn, this is your chance to get a stud rusher. Like, let's ante up. I know I don't like paying a guy a ridiculous amount, but an edge rusher in the prime of his career, I would have done it. So I don't know that I was so negative on the Bears. I've never been a big fan of Mitch Trubisky, but yeah, I mean, they've found a way to get wins. It happens every year in the NFL where people come out of the woodwork and do well. People say, well, it never happens to the Lions. Like, I disagree. Like, the last 5 or 10 years, we've kind of been up or down or had some good years when we didn't expect it and vice versa. So, Detroit Kool-Aid cast or not, I mean, me and you definitely need to drink it in because I'm be ready to roll in 2019. I mean, especially if this team does what I've laid out or what I hope in the offseason, like, heck yeah, we got a chance to win this division. We need to win this division in 2019 or 2020 at the latest.
Yeah, they could make a few moves and surprise some teams. We'll go into this more in the off season, but once again, I think a big thing is the staying injury free. It seems like the Bears have been injury free most of the year. I mean, they've had a few guys here and there, but none of their key contributors really have been out for an extended period amount of time. And then just the Lions have to make the right moves, like you said. Sometimes you just got to roll the dice. I mean, they rolled the dice and gave us up some stuff for Khalil Mack, and he's obviously been a huge game changer on that defense. And I think that's what the Lions need to do. They need to roll the dice and, maybe make a run like we had talked about a couple players. So it's something that the Lions could definitely do and take over this division, because it looks like the Packers once again are on the downslide. The Vikings are struggling more this year, and we can get into that here in a couple, in a little bit. But the Bears, I mean, I think the Bears are probably going to be one of those teams like where they talk about, X amount of teams make the playoffs one year, and then the next year they miss the playoffs. That could be the Bears. They just don't seem like the team that has like a sustainable dominance. Like we talk about, the Steelers, the Patriots. They just don't seem to have that. So that's my take on that.
In short, for the people out there, like, you don't disagree with me on this.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
You tend to.
I see it your way.
You tend to.
Yeah, okay, what? I agree with you, so we can keep going.
Okay, thank you.
But I also agree with you that Mr. Trubisky, he ain't that great.
There. You gotta get 2 for that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
Okay, so I know we had brought him up, and I just mentioned him a couple seconds ago about the Vikings. I mean, it's the second time we play them this year. The Vikings are still in the hunt for the playoffs. It's obviously just a wild card now, and obviously with the signing of Kirk Cousins, they thought he was going to take them to the next level, which, the old adage is, you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. But I personally think Kirk Cousins is just an average QB. I think he gets a lot of love from this area because he went to Michigan State. But I've always thought he was just an average QB. Dalvin Cook, looks to be back to his old self. Fast, quick, skittish. Very difficult for defenders. And once again, the defense of Minnesota, it seems not to be as good as it's been in past years, but still has some stuff to, can shut down some teams. I mean, they sacked the Lions, 9 times or whatever, just a couple weeks ago or not too long ago. So the offense, I don't know how they're going to be able to score some points, but we can bring that up. But how do you feel about the Vikings offense? I know it's the second time we're seeing them. It's actually at home this time. The Lions hung with Minnesota for a while there in that game in Minnesota. It's at home now. Once again, the Lions are playing spoiler. Do you think the Lions defense can kind of rebound and as opposed to like when they did Minnesota where they kind of fell apart late in the fourth and keep this team in the whole game all 4 quarters this week?
Grifka, first and foremost, for the people out there too, I would love somebody that listens to this show every week to count up the Grifkas that I lay out there. I hope people are getting the gimmick that I go for as many Grifkas as I can on one show, but by saying it. But Grifka, like you rag on Kirk Cousins. It was weeks ago where I told you, Grifka, that Kirk Cousins, you can say he ain't your words, not mine.
Yeah. He ain't that great.
That he's not that great. But a few weeks ago, I told you that it was starting to feel really odd that I was starting to feel like Matt Stafford was a Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins was a Matt Stafford. They have the ability. They're highly paid. Neither of them have really won anything. All these things. So like that made me sick to my stomach to think about that, because back in the day when number 9 was gunslinging and putting up 450 and 3 touchdowns, I never would have said that. But these guys are playing similar football right now, if not Kirk Cousins being the better quarterback as we stand right now. So I wouldn't sell him too short. Secondly, I mean, yeah, the Vikings defense always scares me because their head coach, they're always pretty nasty. They've got some dogs, as I always like to say. And yeah, the numbers might not be exactly where they were, but they were unworldly a year or two ago. So they're still really tough. And I know we said in the preseason that until the Lions go beat the Vikings, I mean, it's hard to say it. So, I mean, Kirk Cousins, you got Cook, as you mentioned him, he's a good football player. So I think this is going to be really tough again for the Lions offense. And I think that RD, I mean, has to deal with those factors you didn't even bring up, Thielen, Diggs, some of these other people. So it's going to be a tough day at the office, I think. And home, away, whatever it is, in Ford Field, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, Minnesota, they're just going to be, I think, a little more up for this game. I mean, they're pros, and you're supposed to be up every game, but the Lions are just, playing for pride. Looking to play spoiler and help knock Minnesota out of the playoffs. But Minnesota knows they're right now sitting in the 6th spot in the second wild card, so they obviously need this one a little more. And like you mentioned, all the guys on that offense, and sorry, I still don't think Kirk Cousins is all that great. he just he's left shaking my head as Kirk Cousins, whatever.
The craziest part, and I yelled at Lions fans for being negative, but negative, optimistic. I mean, I guess the optimistic people are always gonna love Stafford no matter how he plays, and we skew towards that side of the fence. But there's plenty of people that if you gave them the choice to trade Cousins for Stafford would do it right now.
Really?
Gosh, definitely. The Lions negative people, no doubt, and even the people that are rooting on or drinking the Lions Kool-Aid would be like, I don't know, maybe I'd do it because.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay,
sorry.
Well,
I mean, yeah, you know me, I can be very negative about the Lions, but there's no way I'm trading for Kirk Cousins. I mean, whatever.
But I bet if we pull up the numbers, I mean, yeah, Stafford probably has them in yards and stuff, but I bet you when it comes down to wins and touchdowns and stuff, it's probably not too far apart because Cousins put up numbers in Washington. I mean, I don't think they're too far off, but I mean, well, the Vikings are healthy. We're all beat up. It's going to be tough on Sunday.
I have a question. I mean, talking about trying to slow down the Minnesota offense. I know this is just kind of like a side game to it, but who do you think Darius Slay covers this week? I know when they were playing in Minnesota, they had him on Adam Thielen, and I swear the only reason they had him on Adam Thielen is that wouldn't break that Calvin Johnson record or whatever like that. I swear that's the only reason they put him on him. So they held him to like a low amount of yards. He didn't have it a whole lot, but do you think he's on Adam Thielen again this week, or do you think he's on Stephon Diggs? Because I always thought Diggs was a better wide receiver, and I thought Slay was always supposed to follow the number one guy on the team. So who do you think he covers this week?
Well, Grifka, people count that up. I don't know. I really don't agree with you. I don't think that. I don't think they put him on him for that reason. I mean, at that point in the season and just in general, like Adam Thielen was the number one wideout in the NFL, which makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit. Like that's just ridiculous, but it was the case. So I think they're going to put him on the best guy. Thielen was the best guy. Like he hasn't been good the last few weeks, but I don't know why they would flip it, especially after the success he had. I mean, if you're asking me, especially from like a fantasy perspective or in general, like I think Stephon Diggs is a pretty explosive player. People compared him to next couple of years, he could be a sneaky like Antonio Brown type player that nobody's putting at that level right now, but you could see that kind of uptick in his game. So, I mean, I like Diggs better, but I think the Lions kind of go in there with the same type of game plan, put him on Thielen and try to deal with the rest. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. Whoever you put Slay on is probably going to get locked up, and whoever is free is going to be doing exactly that, running free through our defense. I mean,
it's
there's
going
no
to be
doubt.
a 7-on-7 drill.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay. I have a couple questions on the biggest thing is I know a few guys have been injured, obviously, for the Lions. They're down to, like you said, mentioned Kerryon Johnson's gone. Zach Zenner ran pretty good last week against Buffalo, and then he seemed to stop getting the ball later in the game. Do you think the Lions are going to be able to move the ball, be able to score points against the Minnesota defense? Do you think they're actually going to be able to block this week where Matt Stafford's not always picking himself off the ground like he did up in Minnesota?
Grifka, I was frustrated last show. I'm still frustrated, mostly because, I want to be all into these last two games, but when there's nothing to play for in the NFL, it's really hard for me to not be frustrated. So, we don't have many of our weapons on the outside. There's no carry on look forward to. Or we got a piecemeal offensive line. I mean, Matt Stafford, again, I ragged on him last week. He always has 10 ailments going on that he works his way through, but unless he's perfectly healthy, he doesn't really have the zip that we need him to have to be a top flight quarterback. So, I mean, I'm frustrated / down again on this week of this team getting bullied. The two edge guys for the Vikings just raising havoc. The interior guys are tough. They got a good corners and back end. I mean, I think it's going to be a death struggle trying to get to 14 points if I'm being truthful with the Lions. I mean, I've been on low scores the last couple weeks, but there's nothing pointing in the direction for me to say anything otherwise this week.
Yeah, I get the bell. I agree with you on this. It's going to be a struggle again. I mean, the patchwork offensive line. I know we didn't mention this on the last podcast, but Buffalo hit Matt Stafford a lot last week, and they said it during the game that Buffalo didn't touch Sam Darnold the week before, and then they were all over Matt Stafford. It seemed like a lot of the pressure came up the middle. And Minnesota's got a better defensive line, I think, than Buffalo, to be honest with you. I mean, they sacked them, 9 times up in Minnesota. So it's going to be a struggle for them to move the ball down the field. I mean, unless they can use our newfound cog, Levine Toilolo, a little more. And, he's, because the Lions have something there, at him at tight end running that seam route, his one catch that he had
Stretch
against
the middle
Buffalo.
of the field, Grifka.
He's
You know,
stretched the middle. We found something. We may have
6'8",
found something.
everybody. 6'8", 6'9", look out.
But keeping Stafford upright is going to be tough. But I have a question for you. But Wagner's been hurt. He didn't play last week, and Crosby started out that right tackle. And I know, like we had mentioned, that Buffalo did, hit Stafford a bunch. But I thought more of that pressure came up the middle, with Wiggins, Glasgow, and Ragnow. I thought Crosby, I didn't think he did that bad out there. Are you kind of impressed with where he's at right now? I mean, I know we had talked maybe in the next few years he could be out there starting at right tackle, but I mean, I'm liking his development right now, and it could be one of those things where if they like him, going into next year, Rick Wagner, may be gone. I mean, is that something you could see? I mean, are you liking where Crosby's at right now, or are you kind of like, let's pump the brakes on that and wait, give him a couple more years before we actually put him out there at right tackle?
Grifka, I mean, I like Crosby. I mean, I liked him in the draft. I like the value they got for him. He's played left tackle his whole career, even in a kind of odd Oregon offense, or just he's always been on the left side. So people just assume, hey, you can just flip him over to the right. Like, I don't think that's always the case. And people said, well, because of the Lions, the way they were set up, hey, maybe he could play guard. Maybe he could do some other things for the team. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't love how Rick Wagner's played, but I guess I'm not ready to just get rid of him. I think that Crosby is good offensive line depth. I'd sort of love it in a perfect world if he could play right guard if TJ doesn't want to come back. It's kind of like, okay, you already have this big guy in there. Yeah, he's only played tackle most of his time, but maybe he could shift inside. He knows the system, all that good stuff, and then we wouldn't have to spend a draft or a free agent resource on it. Just kind of plug him in. I think that's best case scenario. But I mean, because I didn't notice him on Sunday, I feel like you're right. He was probably good or decent. I didn't really think about it, to be honest. Of I need to watch Crosby, or we're going to be in trouble. But because I don't remember him getting blown up or having any huge issues, that's always a good thing. So I mean, he's a good football player. They got a good value, but what can he be? Can he be a starter at one of those spots? Because if he can, then that really increases the pick value and his longevity. If he's in case of injury, then maybe we could have taken another player that could help this team. But I mean, I like the guy overall.
Okay, yeah, like I said, I think if he continues to play well, I know we had talked about this earlier. I can't see the Lions replacing the whole right side of the line in 1 year, doing that again. But you're right. If it's one of those things where Lang, either they decide to cut him or he decides to retire, which I would almost want to say, like, hey, dude, it might be time for you to walk away. They could plug him in there. And it seems like he's surpassed, obviously, Joe Dahl, on the depth chart. So he would I like his depth. But, yeah, like I said, in a couple years, he could be the guy that replaces Rick Wagner if Wagner continues to not live up to the contract that the Lions have given him.
Grifka, I didn't bell you, but you kind of just said what I said. You kind of agreed with me by re-agreeing with me.
Right. Not a bad thing. I mean, I think it's kind of pointless to break down players once again on this, but because considering we just talked about this not too long ago, but now it's at home. The Vikings have something to play for. The Lions are playing for pride. We're down to the pride playing. How do you foresee this one coming out in the end?
Well, 2 shows in a row where I've been frustrated and trying to latch on to something other than off-season, free agency, draft, all that good stuff. And, again, I hate to go Grifka on the people, but there's not much I'm excited about this Sunday. I'm not expecting a very good result. Most home games I'm thinking, hey, if it's in Ford Field, they should be able to win. I mean, I'd love to see Kenny continue to make plays and then continue to give him chances offensively. I'd love to see a lot of our defensive guys that are still out there stay healthy. I'd hate to see Snacks get hurt or, some of these younger guys that we're trying to bring along, like, get dinged up too, like, just kind of get out of these next couple games healthy. But I mean, I know this is your prediction time of the podcast, so I mean, this game, it could get rough in my opinion. I mean, I'd love to sort of say, hey, the Lions will pony up and kind of play spoiler as people keep writing, but I see this game as probably like a 28 for the Vikings, and again, the Lions maybe getting 28. It said it'd be a struggle to get to 14, so maybe give me like, I don't want to give them 10, so 28-13 Vikings. Pretty handle victory, and just kind of a tough game.
Why not 10?
Have you seen this offense the last 3 weeks? I mean, they got nothing they can put together, and when they
why
do,
would you want to give them 10?
Because I've given them low scores the last couple weeks, and they barely reached it. So I didn't want to give them a really low one again, but I can't give them 14 points until they show me they can move the football.
Okay. Once again, I mean, like you said, they're having trouble moving the football, and your boy Kirk Cousins, man, he's out there. He's the next big thing. You said that you would trade for him. So the Minnesota offense.
Don't lie to the people. I said that the haters would definitely do it. No. The haters would definitely do it, and I think if you look up the numbers, they're not that bad. Grifka, if you have to say right now, does Kirk Cousins light us up on Sunday? Actually, like 300 and 2 or 3 touchdowns.
I'm not saying 300, but he's close. I'm going to say about probably 280. So I still think Minnesota's going to try to run the ball a little more with Cook and Murray. So I could see Cousins throwing up probably about 280 and a couple touchdowns. One will be to Kyle Rudolph, because at some point in the game he'll just be standing there just wide open, and because the Lions don't cover tight ends. So
the Lions have to be the worst team on like 3rd and 1 from the 1 yard line. Like, do they not understand that everybody in the league knows to just run the fake it to the running back, dive over the top, throw it to the tight end? I mean, it happens every season, every time. I mean, I can't understand why they never covered the tight end.
Yeah, I can't understand why the free release, it's just like, what's going to happen where like the guy on the end of the line is going to fake, like he's blocking, and then just release and just going to be standing, 4 yards behind the defensive backfield. So,
right, that's a good call by you. There will be a Kyle Rudolph touchdown, and you say run the football, but I still think, again, we were solid in Buffalo. We've been solid in run defense. We don't have a ton of injuries other than losing Hand a couple weeks ago that will hurt us there. Like, I think they'll be stout again. I mean, I think Dalvin Cook is a lot to handle, so yeah, he'll probably get his, but I could see them just dropping back and just throwing all day against the windsock, Nevin Lawson, and your boy Dees.
Okay. But I still think they're going to try to run the ball. I mean, with Dalvin Cook, Latavius Murray, they tried it up in Minnesota, and I still think they're going to try it again here, because I just don't think Kirk Cousins is that guy that's going to drop back and go all Drew Brees and throw the ball 50 times a game. So I could see Cousins having probably like 280 and a couple touchdowns. I mean, even with that said, like you said, I think it's going to be very difficult for the Lions to score. I could see this game, it's being at home. It's the last one of the year. The Lions, strap the helmets on, play for some pride, show up like their people are saying, and Lions actually lose this game. I'm going Minnesota 24, Lions 10. So I'm not afraid to give the Lions 10 points, because, like you said,
why do you want to give the Lions 10, Ripta?
Because, like you said, they're having trouble scoring. I mean, so.
Now, aren't you the guy, Grifka, that always says the I-75 eyes, I'm just collecting a paycheck? Isn't that your whole gimmick?
No, that was Ziggy Ansah just collecting a paycheck, because, he was injured by a stiff breeze, so his eyes got hurt looking at game film, so he couldn't play, I mean.
You always say at the end of the year when the Lions are out of it, they're just they're ready to jump on I-75 and go to Miami, or they just want to get their last couple paychecks. And now you keep saying they're going to play for pride. That's never been your deal.
Oh no, I say that because that's just the cliche that everybody says. Playing for pride. That's all that's left. Just playing for pride. Nobody in that locker room wants to lose. Yeah, you're right. Give me a break. I mean, this is the last home game that, half the lockers gonna be packed up. Because Sunday after the Green Bay game, it's like people are gonna be like calling their friends and family, "Hey, get in the locker room, grab my stuff, so I don't have to stop back there." So, yeah, that's where the team's at this year, or at this point.
Grifka, do you want to hear a funny Lions story, and then I want to end on a positive note?
Sure. Is it the story where the guys are at training camp with the Luke Wilson jersey, and they act like they know him, but yet they're standing by the rope line with us, as opposed to like in the friends and family tent? Because that was a pretty funny story.
No, not that story. But
Luke Wilson with 2 L's.
Recall.
Wilson with 2 L's.
What's better, 2 L's or double initials for Zach Zenner?
Oh, it's got to be Zach Zenner, man. It's the alliteration, baby.
Double Z all day.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
No, Grifka, you're going to absolutely love this story. This is back in your heyday. I'm sure you've either heard this or you know it even better than I do, but I heard this recently. So there's a story about, Jim Zorn. I guess he was a former coach for the Lions, but he was like the head coach at Seattle and Washington, I think it was back in the day.
Yeah, old quarterback for Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, you'll be able to fill in the details. But I guess so he was like a Lions coach, and I guess they were playing the final game of the year, but they had everything on the line. Like if they win, they either won the division or made the playoffs or something like that. If they lost, they were out. And so I guess they like played the game. It was super tight to the end of the game. They lost like towards final play. I think they might even said this was like the Edinger game where he kicked the field goal and we were out, and then like we lost out on. No, because that was when we got Reggie Bush. Anyway, there was a lot on this line, whatever game it was. And I guess the story goes that after the game, the media saw the people pulling out of the Lions parking lot, and Jim Zorn pulled out of the Lions parking lot already with a full U-Haul attached to his vehicle and just booked it out of there. So he not already had the U-Haul. It was fully packed and on his vehicle that he drove to the game, and then he just left, never came back.
That's awesome.
Incredible, man. That's like if there's ever been a we're not gonna win or we have no chance, that's Jim Zorn. That was a crazy story I heard. So that bums me out, but I thought it was kind of funny and totally in your heyday at Silverdome type of thing.
That's funny.
So on a positive note, the way I want to. So we've been talking about all this. I've been frustrated for a couple shows. It's gonna be hard for me to get through the season here, but I'll be fired up again once it's over and we start talking free agency and draft. But so we've been talking all about, who's going to play. You just said kind of some people are mailing in. People just say they're playing for pride. I want to just talk about this for a minute. So every day, every week that Pat gets up to the podium, people are like, hey, you're going to shut this guy down, or, does it make sense to play Stafford? All these questions, right? And his answer consistently is, we basically take it every other week. If somebody's healthy enough to play and can't re-injure themselves and is ready to go, we're going to put them out there, try to win the football game. And all the media and all these people take that as, oh, that's such garbage, or this guy doesn't have a clue, or he's just making up stuff. He's just over talking so he sounds smart. I honestly believe with all my being that when Matt Pat gets up to the podium, not only is he a super genuine dude, but I mean, obviously he has the head coach isms down where he can talk his way through a presser, not give him any info if he doesn't want to. But I honestly think with all the jokes and some of the stories we just told that every week, no matter if it's week 1 or week 17, he's just showing up going, all right, who do we got this week? Who's up, who's down, figuring that out, and then figuring out a game plan to try to win the game. He's not going in with all these other alternatives. Yes, Bob Quinn and other people are all looking at the bigger picture. What can we do to help the team? I believe Matt Pat, as our head coach, is totally honest when he says, every week we're coming to win. We try to win with who's there. We're not looking any other way than about how can we beat the Vikings. And I think that's positive, man. I don't think that's a pull the wool over your eyes. I don't think that's a, oh, that's what he thinks he has to say. I think that's honestly how he feels, and that'll only do good when he has that same attitude, when we have all of our players, we have teams that we should beat, we are playing big games, hopefully in December. I love the guy's attitude, and I think if he can just keep that going, regardless, that it will pay off. Even though people are acting like it's a joke right now, just worry about each week, play with the guys that are healthy, and scheme up a plan as coaches and as players and as a team to try to win that game that week. That's all you have to worry about. So I just want to end on that I think that's actually really cool. And yeah, every coach sort of says it, but I really think Matt Pep knows it, believes it, and will make it happen in the future of, hey, take it 1 week at a time, play with who's there, maximize our talent, scheme out a defense and an offense to win games. And over the long haul, which means the next, 2 to 4 years, let's look and see what's what then. And let's not just go right now that this guy is over his head, doesn't know what he's doing, or giving us a bunch of BS. Because I don't think it's BS. I think that he's shorthanded, but in the long run, we'll get this together.
Yeah, that's right there. I think that's kind of the way you have to look at it right now. That you said that's what the coach has to look at. That try to win what you have there. Do the best you can, get the most out of your players. Not playing for a whole lot, but show me you want to be here is the biggest thing. So let's do this. Let's move on. Got a couple questions for you. It being Christmas time, these are just general questions for you and me to answer, dealing with Christmas. Have you ever received, or what was the best Lions Christmas gift that you got, that you have received? Memorabilia, whatever. I'm talking Christmas gift. I'm not talking like, this was like a gift. I'm like, have you ever received like Lions gift or something at Christmas time that's just awesome?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. I'd sort of have to rack my brain to really think it, but just off the top of my head, I remember a few years ago kind of telling my grandparents in general, they always get me like suitcases or, a new comforter, all this other stuff. And I'm kind of like, they know that I love the Lions, right? So I just kind of told them when I was like, if you just got me like a Nike Lions shirt or a hoodie or something, like that'd be awesome. Cause like, that's my team. And like, that's one of my biggest favorite things I enjoy. I don't do all this travel and all this other stuff, or just those kind of bland gifts that people give people. It's kind of like, just give me like some cool Lions and I'll love that. And like the next year my grandma did that. She got me like a really nice ThermoFit like Lions hoodie that just fit perfectly and was super comfortable, and I love that thing. And so she's done that a few times for me since, of just kind of could get me a bunch of other stuff, but got me something Detroit Lions. And not only did I love the gift, but I just appreciate that she heard me, of just like, I always try to get people gifts that totally play to like their likes or their personalities. And people know that I'm a huge football nut and I love the Lions. So a simple gift is just get me something with that Lions logo on it, and I love it. So my mom's got me like a Lions calendar. She loves to do calendars every year for Christmas and whatnot. And so like last couple of years, hey, Lions calendar. So that's kind of cool stuff, and I really appreciate it. But yeah, I've had some cool ones over the years. And like I said, I've had lots of years where people would just never get me anything Lions. Maybe they thought I had too much stuff, but it was like, sometimes that's all I really wanted was something cool with the Honolulu blue and silver. So that's where I'm at.
That's cool. Probably my best Christmas gift I got for Lions was, I know this sounds corny or cheesy, but I don't know if you remember them, because I remember them. Back in the early 80s, the NFL, the team mascots were all the same. They were the huddles, and each mascot was like that team's whatever their name was, and they wore like a uniform, and it was the huddle. And a toy was brought out. Mind you, 1983, I was much younger. In 1983, they came out that Christmas. I got the Lions huddle, and it was my toy. That thing was with me wherever I went. And it was in my bed. As I grew older, it got it sat on my dresser, and then it sat on my nightstand, and then eventually, as I got married, it got boxed up. And then when I put my man cave together, I was digging through my stuff, seeing what I had. I still had it. The thing went up. That thing, I still have that thing. Is my favorite. It is like my favorite thing. I know it sounds stupid and corny, but that's probably the oldest piece of Lions memorabilia that I have, or Lions toy that I have, and I still have it. And I still like it. It's still in good condition as well. It's one thing I will always have, and I'll cherish it because it was from my parents. So.
Oh, nice. Super cool, man. That's a good anecdote, and funny that you still could find it and still have it. I know this is a little off topic, Rivka, and we got to sort of close it up, finish the show here shortly. But I want to take a quick side tangent, because before the show we were kind of reminiscing about some funny old times that we had back in the day. Kind of known you since my college days. Not in college, but outside of college, we met and became buddies or whatever. But when you say Lions memorabilia, you want to know the one thing I think of kind of right away?
What's that?
You don't know where I'm going right now, but you will shortly. So, and this has to do with Christmas. Kind of when you said Lions memorabilia, for some reason, the thing that jumped in my head is, you remember a certain winter football game that we had with me, you, and the fellas?
Oh, yeah. In my backyard?
Yep. And it was just an absolute blizzard out. We're all, this is the first time I had ever really played some rough and tumble tackle with you fellas. And it was great because there was about foot or two of snow out there. But who was it, Grifka, comes out there in a brand spanking new Joey Harrington right off the rack, and we're all out there in we're out there in our grummiest hoodies with a knit cap on, and this dude's got this. I didn't think the tags had come off this thing, and every time I remember him getting just tackled or whatever, just kind of, oh, get off my jersey, and we're just like, take your jersey off, you freaking jamoke. We're out in the snow playing rough and tumble football with 10 other guys, but you're not the Lions quarterback at Silverdome at the time, and that was just funny to me. It was like, get your memorabilia off and put on a hoodie and let's go. So that was funny.
He's yelling at everybody, don't wear my jersey. Story. We're playing tackle football. Here's an idea: when I grab your jersey, go down then. Don't try to pull away. It won't tear.
Don't wear a jersey to a blizzard game outside in the ghettos of Saginaw, wherever we were. Come on, that was just so funny to me. So I don't know why that jumps in my head when you said Lions memorabilia around Christmas, but it did.
Yeah, idiot. Okay. But okay. Is there any Lions memorabilia that you would love to see under your Christmas tree this year? Something that you would just always kind of wanted and been like, gosh, it would be awesome if you open it up. It's like, oh, yeah, this is great. I've always wanted this. And I know you really want the banners that hung up in Ford Field, but I can't get my hands on those. It's something you can actually attain.
I'll be short on it. I mean, back in my day when I was, middle school or younger, I had the funniest thing. I didn't even realize it was funny at the time. But what I would do, Grifka, is I would literally have a handwritten Christmas list that I would get ready by. I'd always have it ready by Thanksgiving, and then I would go and have my mom help me make copies of this thing. And I would literally at Thanksgiving, this is what a punk I was back in the day, and I just was all about gifts and this and the other. I literally go around at Thanksgiving and hand out my copies of this list that people could pick out an item, and it was always like you said, Lion stuff, Nike basketball, this different stuff I had on it. So I went from that to now I couldn't even tell you the last time I asked for anything for Christmas. I tell people blatantly, don't give me any gifts. I got totally more than I could ever need or enjoy. So I don't ask for anything now. So there's not really a wished item, but I mean, you know me, just there's plenty of Lions things I'd like to have, but when I look around, I just have plenty of more than enough stuff, so I couldn't really pinpoint one. But I've matured, Griff. I moved on since my days of Xeroxing a handwritten list of about 50 things to now asking for nothing.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of the same way. If somebody got me something, took the time to give me something, cool, something I want. I always tell people, it's just you always see that picture of the jerseys hanging up and has the teams on, the names on the back, it'd be now would be Stafford and Theo Riddick, and then there's a blank one where you can put your name, and then there's another person like Marvin Jones. I always tell people, don't give me that. Don't give me that. I don't play
my
for the
uncle got
Lions.
me that one year.
Don't give me one of those fake jerseys with a number on it and my name on the back. Because when me and you go to the game or tailgate, we see those people, their names. I'm like, when do we sign this guy? Is he any good? I don't remember this guy. So
Right.
I just know I don't want that stuff. I don't want my name on a jersey with 00 or some number that like never touches the field. And I'm not the biggest guy, but I'm not the smallest guy either. So I'm not a single digit guy either. I need a jersey with 2 digits on. Okay, just to let
Right.
people know, if I do get a jersey, don't give me, even if the guy's on the team, I'm not a Matt Stafford 9. Okay, I just want to let
Right.
people know that I'm a double number guy. Okay.
We got a couple Grifka OKs in there. We can't let those slide.
Yeah. Just a couple more quick ones. I mean, I'm interested to know, is there any Lion past or present that if you had the chance to meet, it'd be like a Christmas miracle? Just like bumping into the guy, say walking through a Kroger or at a party store, like, oh my gosh, that's so and so. That you'd be awestruck. Like. Do you get starstruck like that, or is it just kind of like, oh, that's so and so, no big deal, But is there anybody that you would just be like, just totally, just straight up, like, oh my gosh, you're great, you're awesome, something like that? Is there any Lion past or present, if you had the chance to do that, it'd be like a Christmas miracle?
Oh man, that's funny. I mean, for me personally, like, I'm not big on like the famous people, but like when I have been around, like there's a little bit of like oddness or nervousness because one, I'm not around them, but it's not like fandom really. It's just kind of like you just don't know what to do around people like that. I mean, I guess it's tough for me. I have to think about like, is there one? I guess like I don't know if this qualifies as an answer, but there has been some times where I wish like some of the top athletes in Detroit or in general were just a little bit more approachable. Like I feel like we always have had Stafford kind of, locked in a room where it's hard to ever get anything real out of him or have him come over and just hang with the people. So like that's kind of why I like the meat and potatoes guys. Like when I hear Spielman on the announcing, I think, man, he'd be cool just to hang with and talk football. Or I remember we went to the Philly game on a road trip, and like Dan Miller just happened to be at the same bar that me and some friends with right behind us, and so we ended up talking to him about like the team, and that was kind of fun. Just like we knew he was the announcer, but he just seemed like a regular guy. So I mean, I guess those would be my answers. Kind of like I'd love a top Lions guy to just be really cool and down to earth, rather than like, oh my gosh, this is the star quarterback, like who won't give you the time of day or won't be genuine with you. Like, hey, we're just people too. We're fans. So I can't really totally throw out a name, but it's cool when you meet those top people and they're really just like want to know about you or want to like take time out of their day rather than like you're inconveniencing them to say what's up or hang out for a second.
Yeah, like you brought up Chris Spielman. He was one of my favorite players when I was a kid, and I love listening to him call games now. And even though I was at the training camp we went to a few years ago, you're like, hey, there's Chris Spielman. You walk by, I'm like, dang, I wish I had something to just kind of run down and I know practice was going on, and he was there to just kind of watch it, because he calls the preseason games. It was still one of those things I just wish I had the opportunity to kind of go down and just kind of like shake his hand and get him to sign something, get a photo with him. He's like one of my favorite guys. So, like you said, just kind of like maybe just accidentally bumping into him somewhere. It's like, hey, Chris Spielman. I would be a little starstruck with him, but it'd be different if I like bumped into like Theo Riddick. Hey, it's Theo Riddick. Hey, it's Theo Riddick, and I would just kind of let him pass by and I wouldn't even think about it. But like Chris Spielman,
everybody that's out there listening. Oh, sorry. Everybody that's out there listening, go back to the archives and like find the story about when Grifka shook Darius Slay's hand, and I was there like ripping on him and like talking to Nate Burleson, and Grifka's like, I just want to shake your hand.
Yeah, that was
classic Grifka moment.
Yep, just want to shake his hand. That was the same time where well, remember when we used to work at Dick's Sporting Goods in Saginaw, the Lions would have training camp in Saginaw. Like every once in a while they'd come in. The famous story of Robert Porcher came into the store. He was in there for like a total of like 20 seconds and like turned around and left. It's just, oh, okay. Hey, Robert Porcher. Okay, see ya.
I think that was before my day, or I've never heard that from you, but I mean, it sounds true. I only went to one Lions thing ever at Saginaw, and it was like right at the end, like right when I became a fan, when Millen wrote, me and Buddy actually walked up to practice with Matt Millen, and we were all like, juiced up, or that's when I was really just starting my fan. It's just, I don't know if I was, because I went to school around there. I don't know if I was there yet or we just drove down to check it out. But anyway, that was before my day. But Griffin, I want to give you two quick answers. So like I was thinking about it. Me being such a nerd about certain things behind the scenes. So if I could just chop it up with Matt Pat or Bob Quinn, those would probably be my two faves, because I think if I could just talk football or like sit down and work a draft board or really hear what their plans are for the team, that would be awesome.
Okay. Now, I know you're not a Debbie Downer with the team, and you're always Johnny Blue Skies, as I call you, but this last question, is there any current Lion you would like to do a Festivus airing of the grievances on? You don't have to wrestle him, or anything like that, so Festivus is over, because, but is there anyone you would just like to do an airing of the grievances on?
This is where I say, Grifka, get the pole. Man, I mean, didn't I do that all last show? Didn't all I do is air grievances last show that we did earlier this week? I think it was.
No, I'm talking like a guy like all year, because you were just kind of angry over Davis's playing when and you've pretty much defended him all year. I'm just like a guy. It's just like, dude, you are terrible. How are you on this team? Somebody like that is what I'm thinking about. It's like, how'd you make the roster? And I'm not talking like Mike Ford or some guy that's been around for a couple weeks, or like Jared Davis, where you've been, like you thought he played a bad game. I'm just like, you're like, how is this guy still start? Something like that. Is there anybody like that on the roster? So it's like, when you leave, I'll be more than happy you're gone. I mean, I do it with Ziggy, so that's a trite answer for me, and he's not around anymore. But is there anybody that you would just like to air grievances on? Just like, dude, I'll be glad when you're gone. I don't know how you're on the team. Is there anybody like that?
I know we got to shut this show down, but if it's a Festivus for the rest of us, then yes, Grifka, there can only be one name for me to air the grievances. We said it in preseason. He's come up other times. I think you should know who it is for me. It hasn't changed. It won't change. It's this guy that you love so much. Every time we're at training camp, you just like, oh, look at him. There he is. And I'm just like turning my back to him. It's the one and only Grifka's favorite, TJ Jones. I told you this guy was terrible. He's always been terrible. Why is he on this roster for nearly half a decade now? He's made one play, I remember. It was a jumping catch in the back of the end zone to win a game, I think it was. Other than that, this guy's done nothing. He's got opportunities due to injury. You never notice this guy. Every once in a while, he catches a ball, and then people are like, oh, see, when he gives opportunities, he's good. Never good, never worth anything, wasted. Him and what was it, the Fuller boy that we took? He was TJ Jones' delight too before, just like here for 4 or 5 years, never did anything.
Corey Fuller
and TJ Jones, those are two guys that would always be on my airing of grievances, and they get so many chances, so many just waste of a roster spot. Like TJ Jones, get out of here. Probably scored two touchdowns this week.
That's a great answer. That really is. But like I said, my airing would just be totally trite. You've heard it all year, and I'm not going to go into more of Ziggy, because then you'll just you got to hear that tirade a couple shows ago. So that's what I got. How about we get out of here for this week so everybody can enjoy their Christmas weekend?
Yeah, man. Everybody, we can't thank you enough for checking out the podcast, sharing it on Twitter, being a little more active. Me and Grifka, as we've said before, we're definitely not Twitter social media guys. We're just two guys that love jumping on here, talking Lions football, real fans. Love to talk about the game, argue with each other, have a little fun with the Grifka Bell and some of the other jokes that we do. So we really appreciate everybody latching on and listening to the Detroit Kool-Aid Cast. Enjoy the holidays. Have fun with family. Still, we know all of us that are diehards will be tuning into this game on Sunday against the Vikings, and we will see what happens, but super excited to sort of work our way through these next two games and then get this team turned around heading into 2019. So everybody subscribe. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, pretty much any platform you can think of for podcast. And me and Grifka before the show, we're kicking around some other ideas which you may see in the future. No promises. But thank you so much for checking us out, and connect with us. Root on the Lions. I'll be back and check everybody next week. So have a great Christmas. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.
This Sunday, I'm going to give you what you crave, what everybody here craves. Drink it in, man.